This is Postman, and this will be a walkthrough of one of my tracks on my Kovacs EP out now on Billegal Beats. The track name is quite a mouthful. It's a GB dash 3123-GGh09. Okay. The whole Kovacs EP was kinda obviously inspired by the Altered Carbon series. It's a bit my reminiscence about it. Which impression the series left with me. The music definitely has that kind of sci-fi feel, also mingled in with cinematic music and IDM and maybe even some microfunk and whatnot. I really wanted it to have a contemplating, moody feel, a bit like it could be the soundtrack of the Altered Carbon series. That also reflects some certain moments and the personality of the lead character in the series, Takeshi Kovacs. So the track name is actually the stack idea of Takeshi Kovacs. I found like an HUD picture on the internet on Behance, I think, and it featured that code. And I thought it would be cool to use that. So long story short, in the Altered Carbon universe, there's this technology called neural stacks. So it's actually like artificial vertebrae they insert into your neck, and it's basically a backup of your own consciousness and so on. So if you die physically and your stack is still okay, your consciousness can be transferred to another body, or you can space travel with it. The information on the stack can be I think they call it can be needled, like they say in the series, through space and time into another body. Cool stuff. So let's get on with the track. I work in Ableton Live 10, and like usual the track is split up in different buses or groups. So sidechain, drums, tonal elements and effects. Sidechain, nothing really weird going on. It's a ghost sample triggering when the snare or kick hits, and it's sidechaining different elements at different levels depending on how much side compression is needed. Let's take a look at the drums. Kicks first. The kicks in the intro are actually samples from the Billegal Beats sample packs. They have that like IDM-ish quality. They're like, I don't know, kind of plasticky in a way. Later in the second section, there's another kick. Let me find it. Yeah, here. That one has an erosion on it, so it's going on and off. So the amount is being automated. And actually, when it hits, it gives when the erosion is on, it's giving the kick more high end. Yeah, it's kind of cool thing. Actually, it's more like an envelope, the automation, just to add a really sharp, noisy transient to the kick. Because maybe it was kind of dull. Yeah. makes a difference. Okay. Well, some people asked about the like blips and glitchy sounds in the intro. Well, there's kind of have to demystify this. They're just samples. Samples, though, yeah, chopped up and resampled from a Reaktor ensemble called Slayer. So S-Layer, really edgy name. Works, but I don't know, edgy. The basic premise of this ensemble is you load in a bunch of samples. You can randomize a lot of it, so you can have different layers. Here you can select the samples you're gonna use, change the speed, the reverse, change the pitch, the pan, the volume, and so on. It's ideal for like random happy accent generation. There's some automation also available where you can just push the button, the random button, and press play and record. That's what I did. So I basically just imported some UI elements in it, some glitchy, bubbly sounds until I have had some cool results, and then put them on top of the kicks just to fill out certain spaces and add some texture to the groove. Maybe interesting for some. There is, because adding samples and or to change up the samples in Reaktor can be quite of a bitch. There's luckily yeah, an execution file for it, little app for it. It's called Sample Map Builder by Relive the Future, I guess. I'll link it in the description. It's easy to use, as sample map exchange is easy in Reaktor. Yeah, really cool things you can do without it. Is it simple? Nah, but it works. Okay, let's go on to the snares. They're quite atypical snares. Yeah, like you probably know an IDM. Most the elements apart can be quite weird or atypical, and so are the snares here. This one sounds more like a raising cymbal or something. This one is actually fun. So it's going through what I call a delay splitter. So it's actually kind of multi-band, really short delay. Like we're talking about less than 20 milliseconds. And then through OTT pass, which is just a collection of OTTs stacked on each other, so it brings up all the weird artifacts the delay produce and gives it that cool sound. So it's like really buzzing loud, and because the OTT, because it's a multi-band effect, so it splits the channels with a filter called an all-pass filter, which changes polarity of from a certain frequency on, and then because it's stacked on each other and it's been exaggerated, all the artifacts produced by that phasing basically also gets amped up and is being audible or more audible, which is cool. And then the third snare just has a grain delay on it. Good old faithful grain delay. Up later in the track we just have kind of standard snares, no real processing on it. Then the one of the latest last clap samples. Has a erosion again. That's a great device to add some top noise and to percussion or even basses and whatnot. Okay, top elements. Nothing fancy going on, just adding and building the groove. Okay, here the loops. Maybe it's worth taking a look at the faster second section. So these loops are basically all kind of drill and bass, breakcore-ish, but also glitchy kind of loops. So I chopped them up and placed them differently till I had a groove that I was satisfied with. So it's a bit all over the place, but it still carries the groove on. It's really snappy at times, especially this one. It's actually done by the transient preservation option in the sample clip view. This one is being texturized. Yeah, texturized. So it's gaining more of a wash. This one is already snappy on its own, and so on and so on. So they kind of fill other parts of the frequency spectrum, and because they interchange so fast, it gives kind of full kind of spectrum. So here and there I did some edits, switched some samples up of left pauses, just to keep the track interesting. It's good to have some repetition, but not too much. And again, definitely with these hectic section, it's also good not to have too much randomness or chaos. You have to make it eligible in some ways for the listeners. So here it's more active, it's fuller, but also some elements elsewhere in the track, like the tonal elements, are also shifting. So it's not too random at all. Okay. So for the tonal stuff, what do we have here? Let's take a look at the leads first. The whole melody section actually came from a sample, a bit of audio I converted to MIDI via the live function. So you can go here, click right, and convert melody or harmony to a new MIDI track. It's definitely not perfect, but it gives some cool results, and it did with this track. So the track in the intro was done with Unfiltered Audio Lion. It's a kind of new synth plugin of them. It's really cool. It has that kind of same interface as their other newer plugins, and has some neat kind of features. You can have like so unison difference, so you can have different kind of modulation for modulation of the parameters, variation of the parameters for each voice. There's a drift option for the oscillators, so like it would be an analog piece of gear, so it slowly changes over time. The effects section is great. It's a really cool thing to work with. The presets are also awesome. If you can, really check it. It's worth taking a look. Cool thing also, you can add TUN files to it, which makes it even more versatile. So that's the main sound, the lion patch. Then it's going through the ambient machine, so it's basically just a resonator in a rack with a bunch of effects on it. and then going through the spec ops, which is freezing it, the audio at some point, I think at a break. Yes. This is how it sounds. Like really washy, textury, ambient-like. Then from the intermission on, it gets frozen. So because it's frozen, it also sounds kinda unnatural, atonal-ish. And it's going through a filter which is smoothing out the atonal textures of it. Worth noting is the MIDI track is doubled, and this MIDI track is going to a cool little Max for Live device called PC Reson Control. So what it's actually doing, it takes the MIDI in, it lets you select a resonator effect or device anywhere in Ableton Live, and feeds that MIDI, those notes, into the resonator, so you can, instead of manually transposing all the pitches, which I did in the past, I now can just feed MIDI to it, and it's completely pitched as I want. It's great as an effect. So this is how the lead sounds raw. So it's kind of synthetic in a cool way, of course. Kind of dull, but I wanted it to resonate some more. Add a metal-ish and also textual vibe to it. And this is how it sounds with. So adds those really lush tuned delays to it. Then another lead. It's just kinda acidy, sawy lead, but the cool thing is the envelope settings are being constantly automated, which morphs the track in a cool way. So the decay is being modulated, the attack is being modulated, and also the unison of the oscillator is also being modulated, which, without changing the waveform too much, is giving it a lot of texture and movement. Yeah. Also has that kind of analog and stable feel, which I think fits the cyberpunk vibe of the EP. I think that's it for the leads. Yeah, just looking at my script. Okay, no, there's another thing here in this break section, and then into the drill and bass section. There's this synth line. It's made before I bought my modular, so it's made in Softube modular plugin, which is a virtual environment emulating analog modular Eurorack gear, in fact, although some Buchla stuff also. It's kind of like VCV, but VCV is free and way lot more versatile, but it's not that easily to integrate into Ableton or any DAW for now. And Softube modular was the best option for me at the time. Now I would use my modular, but then I only had that. The cool thing is here, so each time a note is triggered, it's also triggering the sample and hold, which is sampling noise, and that CV value is going through yeah, a lot of stuff, actually. The FM, the timbre, the color, CV ins of the mutable instruments braids emulation. There's a neat kind of function in braids in which you can basically use the FM input as a way to change up the algorithm inside of braids. So braids is actually a module. It's called a macro oscillator because it has like a ton of oscillator algorithms which you can switch with this knob here. But here every CV control it gets in actually changes the algorithm, so also changes the overall sound of the ARP going on. It sounds like Hockety, which is a thing I guess gets done a lot into Glitch Hub and IDM even. So like you can see, just constantly changes algorithms. Some sound nice, some sound less nice because it's so fast. It just glues that all together and sounds kind of really cool to me. Worth noting. So the basic MIDI portion was written in E minor, but there were some blue notes, so some notes that didn't fit into E minor here and there. So here I'm putting the whole lot through the a major chord device, which is making a major chord of each note inputted, and then it's going to the minor scale device, so set up to E minor, and then to an arpeggiator, which is because there's a lot of more notes to arpeggiate from, really creates a cool kind of motion to it. Okay, I think we're done for that. No, here's that kind of cool section. It's the only dialogue or actual footage of the series tried to incorporate with it because it was really like fun moments in the series. I'll let you have a listen.
Throughout history, we have prayed to gods, pleaded for their
mercy, begged for their protection. Avatars of sun and sky,
blood in war.
The God of Abraham,
Muhammad,
all Christ, all Krishna, all were silent.
Just attack me, please. I heard less than listening to this for the first
time in human history.
When we pray, they answer. They're not gods. You know how much we listen to them.
Their power
is absolute. And they never
die. What else would you call them?
Yeah, cool moment in the series. Then the main element of the next section is probably that kind of webby chord pad, I'd like to call it. It's kind of inspired by Mr. Bill. I think it's kind of a patch like that and was used in his collab with Quibris. It's made by putting ground plates, so like a sample of a metal sheet hitting the ground into a sampler and filter the heck out of it. Worth noting is that the MIDI here, I'm not sure if it was handwritten. It's probably an inversion of some kind of the main MIDI file and so on. This is also a cool feature in Ableton Live. So it's being filtered here in the filter section of sampler. Got some unison going on, I guess. Yeah, a bit of spreading, unison, also some FM modulation. I guess here, yeah, probably. Then it's going through erosion, adding some top end, which is again being, the whole is being filtered again by an EQ filter, going quite nuts in all directions. Just to give it that really kind of morphing quality to it. And then it gets frozen at some kind of point. Yeah. No, I don't think it gets frozen. Yeah, it gets spectral companded by Spec Ops, which really pushes some harmonics in a really cool artificial way. Okay. Back to the leads. After that web pad thing, there's again another arpeggio, and it's really simple. It's just an acidy saw-like lead done in massive. You'll like it. Don't hate me. Okay, that's it for that. Oh, now on to the bass section. There's not really much bass going on in this track. The sub only starts from the drill and bass section. Really kind of simple. Again, just accentuating the general harmonic movement. And the sound itself is basically a Reese I made in Massive, which was kind of inspired by Misanthrope, and therefore I called the patch Misanthropic Reese. Then that sound is being low passed, so it's that like kind of really burial-ish, Asa and Sorrow-ish Reese. Really kind of fills in the low end in a cool way. It just is not that pure, which works fine here. Also being spectral companded, which is something I won't usually do in with a sub, but I guess here it works. And then in the more acidy section of the fast part of the track, there's another bass layer, which is kind of a Reese kind of thing, being gated. So when the sound drops, the gate helps it drop quickly, because it's then being fed into an OTT pass, and like, you know, it's pushing all the harmonics, all the frequencies up in the sky, and if there would be too much noise fed into it, it would really sound shit. And the gate helps with it, and the OTT can do its job by pushing and fucking everything up in a good way. Then it's going through high pass, and then through some volume automation mimicking kind of the movement of the web pad, I guess. Yep. So here you can kind of hear like the artifacts being killed off by the gate. And the effects section, yeah, nothing really crazy going on. Just adding a bit texture, adding riser and so on. So I think that's it for this walkthrough. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, leave a like. Please subscribe if you want. If you want to hear more of this stuff. Enjoy the track, enjoy the EP, and hope to catch you next time.
Wrote history,
A prey to gods.
pleaded for their
Mercy begged for their protection. Avatars of sun and sky.
blood in war.
The God of Abraham,
Muhammad,
all Christ, all Krishna, all We're silent.
Just attack me, please. I heard less than listening to this for the first time.
Time in history when we
Pray. They answer. They're not gods. No matter how much you listen to them.
their power is absolute. If we die, what else would you call them?